welcome to today's press conference the American actor Willem Dafoe, the very new laureate of the Crystal Globe for the outstanding artistic contribution to the world cinema, and also a two-time Oscar nominee. He was nominated for the exquisite war movie Platoon in 1986 and for Shadow of the Vampire in 2000. His other significant film achievements are also The Last Temptation of Christ, which he will personally shown, the Jesus, today at 11 p.m. at the open air cinema here in Karlovy Vary. Mr. Dafoe has also presented here a movie called Pasolini. It's a new movie directed by Abel Ferrara, and Mr. Dafoe also co-wrote the script.
Well, I collabed.
Partly.
In fact,
being humble about it.
I worked with them, but really the script, just for clarity, the script was written with Abel and Maurizio Braucci, who is actually on the jury here. So
yes, he's a member of the main jury this year. And he also co-wrote Gomorrah. Anyway, the press conference will take 30 minutes, so the floor is open to your questions if you are ready.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So welcome again. Okay, there is a hand at the very back there.
Hello.
Hello.
Moja otázka sa týka vašich začiatkov. Inak Hanna Beranová, Rozhlas a televízia Slovenska.
Yeah, okay, let me just listen to it. You don't want the headphones, eh? Because there's a professional.
The headphones.
Okay, no, I'll just.
I prefer.
No problem. Okay, it's going to be a question about your beginning. Pokračujte.
Áno, pán Dafoe, keď ste zistili, že herectvo je to práve orechové, pravdepodobne ste nepredpokladali, že vám režiséri budú dávať úlohy takých zloduchov, negatívnych hrdinov. Túžili ste aspoň ako mladý herec po tých romantických klaďasoch? A ešte druhá otázka, ak môžem, sa týka toho istého.
Okay.
Druhá otázka sa týka fyzičná. Nikto nie je dokonalý, všetci sme originálni a vy nemáte typický hollywoodský úsmev. Chceli ste s tým niekedy niečo urobiť? Inakšie dobre, že ste ho neurobili.
You do not have a classic Hollywood smile, and if you ever were thinking about changing it. But the lady is very happy you didn't.
Okay. First of all, I'm not sure I agree with you. I don't think I play negative characters. I think they're unconventional, but as an actor, I'm giving those characters their day in court. I'm trying to give a different perspective. So I guess I've always been interested in characters that are a little on the outside and afford us a different view of the world than we normally receive in the press and from the mainstream. So I think I've always been attracted to outsiders, because somehow how they see the world can help us challenge how we see the world. As far as my smile, I never thought about it. I mean, I started out as a theater actor, and I still perform in the theater, but that was really my background and that was my identity. So in the theater, you don't think so much about personality or selling your looks or anything like that. So it was never a consideration to change my teeth, because they were my teeth and they looked fine to me.
There's a gentleman behind the pillar, actually. Yeah.
Mr. Dafoe, how do you remember work with Lars von Trier, and how was your mood during the shooting Antichrist?
I love working with Lars. I'd work with him pretty much on anything. He's a great filmmaker, and I like Antichrist very much. Antichrist was difficult because he was in a very delicate place. It was a very personal film for him, and he was quite delicate, quite phobic, but he worked very well, and he gives actors great freedom in the respect that he gives you a great setup. He's got a very good eye. He frames you very well. He guides you very well. Not so much by talking to you, but by creating a good circumstance. I learned much from him. When I work with him, I'm always challenged and excited. So I think he's one of our best filmmakers.
Wasn't you depressed in the sense of script, for example?
Say again?
If you weren't depressed.
Was I depressed by Antichrist?
After reading the script.
No, in fact, he showed me the script originally, not with the design. I got in touch with him, and I said, Lars, what are you doing? And he said, well, I'm working on the script, but I don't know. And he said, would you like to read it? You know, just to give him feedback. And I said, sure. The idea was not to present the role to me. And I liked the script so much that I said, Lars, this is a beautiful script. And he said, really? Would you like to do it? And I said, yes. Because originally his idea was first to cast the woman, because she's really the emotional, she's the heart of the piece. The man's role in that movie is a very difficult role, but it's a very interesting role, but it's less at the center, it's less at the emotional center. So he really wanted to cast the woman first, but since my interest was so strong, he said, yes, let's start with you, and then we went looking for the woman.
Thank you. Okay, second row, please.
Pán Dafoe, nedávno ste spolupracovali s pánom Robertom Wilsonom. Aké máte spomienky na toto zvláštne divadelné predstavenie? Anna Barišníková tiež.
So, your memories of the special production, also the Barišníkov.
Okay, I'm full of compliments today. I love Bob Wilson too. It's a very good experience working with him. For those that are mainly from the cinema world, Bob Wilson is an American-born director, theater director, opera director. He's got a long career. He's fantastic. He has a very particular, formal, very theatrical style. I did two pieces with him. One, a very big production called Life and Death of Marina Abramovich, and the other one called The Old Woman, which was a production based on the writings of Daniel Carmes. And that was just with two actors. It was sort of a movement piece, and the other actor was Mikhail Baryshnikov. So those are two pieces. Bob Wilson is very particular. I loved working with him because his language is so developed that it frees you, because his language is so articulate that once you give yourself to his language, there's a lot of room for you to inhabit it. You don't waste a lot of energy finding the gesture, because he gives you the gesture. And then a lot of your energy and a lot of everything that you have intention to perform is put into perfecting that, coloring it, living in it. So he gives you a beautiful setup. He gives you a very strong form to work with, and then it's your job to fill that form.
Gentleman in the first row, thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
You are mostly known for art cinema, which we all love. But you also make mainstream superhero movies. Mm-hmm. Could you compare working on those two different kind of movies a little bit?
Every movie's different, and I kind of don't like to generalize because every movie's different. But clearly, the aesthetics of a movie and the way a movie is made depends a lot on the economics of a movie. Everyone knows this. I'm not telling you anything new. The bigger the financial commitment, the more it gets controlled, and the more cooks you have in the kitchen. It's more possible to make a personal, integrated film at a lower budget because you are responsible to less people to explain to them what it is. You don't have to be so careful and so calculated. For a bigger budget, you can make a personal film, but it's more difficult because you have to pay off the investment, so you have to have it appeal to a lot of people. So generally, I think I'm less involved in that because I think Movies at their best really challenge how we think, and most designed popular movies are entertainments. They're distraction, and they usually just titillate us or make us forget our lives for a little while. I think I'm a little more interested in movies that inspire us and challenge how we think. And most people, fair enough, it's okay. Don't go to the movies for that.
In my opinion, one of your most memorable performances was the one in the Boondock Saints.
Okay.
And I'm curious to know how much did you contribute to the role, and how much was in the script, and how much ideas were from Troy Duffy, because it's such a special role, such a special character.
Do people know this movie, Boondock Saints, here? I don't know what the release was like. Do you? Just give me nods or no. Well, it's sort of a cult movie, but it's got a wildly popular following. And what's interesting about it is it was a movie that was much hyped even before it was made, because Harvey Weinstein had found this bartender who wrote a script, and he was going to turn him into the next Tarantino. And there was a big publicity push and all this sort of thing. And the film wasn't even made yet, and the movie was sort of famous in the States. And then the director and Harvey Weinstein started fighting. They couldn't agree on a cast, and Harvey Weinstein let it go. So this guy that was famous for never having produced a movie, all of a sudden was in search of a new producer. He found it, made it in a much more down and dirty, simpler way. But he was a kid that watched movies, loved movies, and felt like there was something missing. And he wasn't trained as a screenwriter, but he wrote a personal movie, a very politically incorrect movie, a movie with a lot of humor. And when he approached me, I thought, wow, he's interesting, he's fresh, he's original. So we made this very modest movie. There was lots of collaboration. It was a strong script, but whenever you work on a low budget, you usually have to make lots of adjustments. So there's more possibility for collaboration at that level than there is with a big industrial movie.
Thank you. There's a gentleman.
Hi, Willem. I'm coming from Israel. Always pleasure to meet you.
Nice to see you.
What you're allowed to tell us about the Justice League, and what was your impression from Gal Gadot, the new Wonder Woman?
She looks good. I don't want to talk about that. I've got so many movies to talk about, and I'll let them orchestrate the publicity on that movie. I'm happy to be a part of it, and when it comes out, I'm sure I'll be talking about it ad nauseum.
Did you shoot it already?
I shot a part of it, and I'll go back and shoot some more. Yeah. This is a DC Comics Justice League movie, which is shooting now.
Too soon to talk about.
Too soon to talk about.
There's a hand at the very back.
Podskalská deník, dobrý den. Vy jste zmínil, že jste hrál řadu zajímavých i vypjatých rolí a také jste hrál Ježíše v Posledním pokušení Krista, které tady uvedete na letním kině. Tak by mě zajímalo, to je vždycky role, která bude trochu vybočovat z toho běžného rejstříku postav. S jakými pocity jste k tomu přistupovali, jestli jste si neříkal, že to tak trochu troufalost? Děkuju.
At the time, it didn't occur to me that it was a controversial role, would be a controversial film. And because
so I'm sorry, they need a question. There was a question about Jesus, who will always be an exceptional role. So what were Mr. Dafoe's kind of thoughts before he actually accepted the role? If he considered,
Jesus.
Yeah, if he considered it as a brave choice to accept it.
No, I didn't consider it as a brave choice because I didn't have that kind of consciousness about it. Martin Scorsese asking me to play the lead character in a movie that he had been trying to make for many years, a movie that was close to his heart, made for a very modest budget, shooting in Morocco. This all sounded good. And then it seemed strange that he was offering the role of Jesus to me. But then when I read the script, I knew what he was trying to do, and I was very happy to accept the role because clearly the story examines the human aspect of Jesus, the kind of working class Jesus, and I responded to that. I didn't know what to do in the prep, and he gave me very little instruction before. The only thing he told me to do is watch the Gospel according to Matthew, the Pasolini movie, curiously enough, to kind of give me a cue to how he wanted it not to be dogmatic religiously, how he didn't want it to be full of pageantry, how he wanted it to be simple, and he wanted to examine the very Pasolinian humanness of it.
Thank you. There was another hand at the very back, or yeah, Mirka Spáčilová, Mladá fontána.
Dobrý den, Spáčilová. Já bych na to navázala. Kolem Ježíše se strhla spousta povyku, v některých zemích se nesměl hrát, uvádět. Zajímalo by mě, jestli se to dotklo vaší kariéry a jestli vůbec vy sám znáte film, který byste zakázal promítat.
You want to say it for
okay,
speakers? Yeah.
The movie, the Last Temptation of Christ was controversial after all, and it was even prohibited in some countries. It wasn't possible to show it at some countries. So how did that aspect change your career? And also, would you actually name one movie which you would not show? Is there a movie for you which you would actually prohibit to be shown?
Privately? I mean, I don't think it should be shown.
Not necessarily. No, not necessarily.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Not necessarily a movie where you are in, just any movie in general.
Is there
don't
such
worry.
a thing as a movie that's worth that you...
Is there such a movie which is worth not showing? Yeah.
Maybe there is, but I can't imagine it. I don't know why.
You've never seen it.
I've never seen it because they're keeping it from me. No, I can't imagine that movie. What was the other part of the question?
Did it change your career? The controversy of
I think sure, but who knows how. I do know on a couple of occasions, not excessively, on two occasions specifically that aren't worth telling the particulars of, they did not want me to do the role because I was kept from a couple roles because of the association with the movie, because they both were movies. One was funded by basically religious group money, and that was quite recent. And then another one was a Western that the director wanted me to do. I met with him, and we were all set to go, and then I got a call from the studio saying, under no circumstances are you going to be in this movie, because right now you're too associated with Last Temptation of Christ, and it's a liability for us to have you in this movie, so you're not going to be in it. I don't care what the director says. I'm the final word. It was the head of the studio. That's it. So on those two occasions, it did affect me, but generally, I think it was I liked the movie. People, there was a positive feeling towards it critically. So I think it contributed well to my career.
There's a lot of questions in the first row.
Where are you going?
That was enough for her.
You got someplace better to go than
here. Too long of an answer.
Too long an answer. That's always my problem. Some people like it when it's long.
Too many details.
Hi, I'm Teresa from Daily Newspaper.
Would you prefer that I just go, no, I don't want to tell you. Forget it. So.
That's all right. I want to ask, aside your movies, how do you like the festival so far, and what do you say about Czech people, fans, and especially girls or women?
Oh.
And what are your plans after this festival?
Maybe she would like to moderate the press conference.
What's that? Well, the festival, I didn't get the last part of the question, sorry.
Sorry, what are your plans after festival?
You know, I'm here for a short time. I've always heard about this festival. I've always heard it's a beautiful place. It has a good energy. It's a popular festival. It's doesn't have a market, so it's really about people that love film. So there isn't that pressure on it. So I was happy to be invited, happy to receive this award, this recognition. People are very sweet. Yeah, there are some beautiful girls. But you want to get me in trouble? I can't afford to be in trouble. Not right now. After the festival, I go to work. I go back to the States where I'm going to start a movie. Yeah.
There's a gentleman in the first room.
Yeah, please.
Yes.
Michael Cimino is dead today. I think you made your first role in Heaven's Gate. Could you tell us something about your relation with Michael Cimino in that film?
I felt very sad when I heard the news. I'm not close to him. I wasn't close to him, but I did work on Heaven's Gate. In fact, he fired me from Heaven's Gate. But there are no hard feelings because I didn't take it personally. He was under a lot of pressure. And he, in fact, asked me to work with him after that. I was unable to because I was busy, but we made up. I've lost track with him through the years, but I think he's made some great films. And even though even I felt the sting of Heaven's Gate personally, I think, you know, it's sad what happened. It was the end of a possibility of there being Hollywood auteurs because the bean counters came down on the excessive side of the artists. And there were, Heaven's Gate was, there were some difficulties. It was supposed to shoot for a very short time and then immediately became 8 months. It wasn't just a financial thing. I think the people working on the film were very stressed. The local people were stressed. He was very demanding. But those very demands were what made him sometimes a very good filmmaker. And he's made some great films. So you hate to hear anybody's passing, and it's a shame that he really hasn't made a film. He hadn't made a film since Sun Chaser, basically because he was forever being punished for what was seen as excessives and the failure of Heaven's Gate, which, in fact, not everybody agrees with. Some people regard the film, you know, as a masterpiece. So I feel sad.
After being in Scorsese's movies, you played also in 2 movies by Abel Ferrara.
I'm working on my 6th with him now.
Yeah, but 2 movies with Abel Ferrara about something religious, related to religion. Mary, about the director making a movie about Mary. Yeah. And also Pasolini, who made also a movie about the Christ. So being in front of the camera in the role of Jesus, and after being behind the camera with somebody making a movie about Jesus.
But I wasn't in Mary. I didn't work in Mary, that film.
Really?
No.
Which director was?
No, I've worked with Abel on like 5 films, but I wasn't in Mary.
Oh, sorry.
But anyway.
Yeah, Pasolini.
Complicated question and a simple answer. See, this is a simple answer.
It was a very memorable performance, huh?
Okay, give it to the next.
What about Pasolini, who made also a movie about?
Yeah, there's definitely a connection there. As I said, that was my big preparation for Last Temptation, to look at Gospel According to Matthew, and it's a beautiful movie and one of my favorites of Pasolini.
Hi, very general question.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you just what did really make you wanted to become an actor, and what do you still take out of this profession as theater and cinema? Thank you very much.
What made me want to become an actor, I don't remember. Really, I don't. It was gradual. And I think I never, because for a lot of professions, you train formally and then you try to make a career. I had very little formal training, and the way that I trained was through the theater. And it was a time where it was very modest theater, a very avant-garde theater. It didn't smell of career building. It felt like just for now. It was for the excitement of now. So I never prepared, but then after being with that company, which eventually found success for 25 years, then after that I thought, yeah, I guess I'm an actor. When people started asking me to do movies and I started making my living doing movies, I thought, yeah, I'm an actor. But I never had a goal and then went towards it. What was the other?
I think that's it, no?
That's good.
That's it. There's a lady in the second row.
Hello. Do you have any interesting or funny moments from filming? Can you tell us the funniest or the best?
My life is one big funny moment. of filming of Pasolini?
Yeah, for example.
Great.
You know, we're working in Rome. We're two Americans that are living in Rome. You know, some of the cast, I speak Italian, but I'm not fluent, and some of these kids that we're working with speak very rough Roman dialect. They're very hard to hear, understand. So I can remember there were odd moments, like I'm driving around Rome with brown lenses to make me look like Pasolini, with his signature sunglasses on, driving in a car on the narrow streets near my neighborhood, so I knew it, with a kid that I'm playing a scene with that I can barely understand. Speaking Italian, driving, unable to see, and then dealing with all the issues of the camera. So there were challenges like that where occasionally you get a little distance and you say, wow, how did I end up here? You know, you have those moments.
Ja by som sa rád opýtal na úlohu v Spider-Manovi, na Goblina. Sú takéto úlohy pre herca zaškatulkovávanie, alebo pomáha to hercom v kariére? Alebo je to zaškatulkovanie, z ktorého sa ťažko potom dostáva časom?
Does it actually help for your career, or is it more like stereotypical? It's difficult to get out of this shell.
No, I think Spider-Man helped. Well, who knows? But Spider-Man helped terrifically in the respect that you know, my struggle is I like to make a certain kind of movie, and some of those movies don't get distributed widely. And if people don't see you for a while, it's hard to follow your career. And as distribution gets kind of less creative, the big movies take all the interest of the people. So when you do a movie that's widely distributed, popular, and a good movie, and what you do in it is regarded well, that's got to be good for your career.
There is a time for the last question. Okay. So it has to be the question.
She's meaning it better be good.
Okay, there's a young lady at the very back, so we'll see.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
So I would like just to ask you one question about Pasolini.
Can you stand up? We don't see you.
Yes.
I mean, I don't
yes,
see you.
yes.
Thank you.
So I would like to ask you one question about Pasolini.
Yes.
You mentioned yesterday that some part of the character you took from Pasolini and you keep it with you. Can you please mention and describe what it will be?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear a little bit. The sound's very bad.
Okay.
Sorry.
Again, about Pasolini.
Yes.
And you mentioned just yesterday that the part of the character from the Pasolini, you keep the part of this character with you.
Me?
Yes. No. Can you please describe what it will be?
What's the last part? I'm sorry, I'm a little deaf too. All those war movies.
Like which part of the character Mr. Dafoe will always carry with him inside you?
I think, you know, I knew a lot about Pasolini. I knew him as a writer, as a filmmaker, but I didn't know so much about him as as a critical writer, his critical writings. And when I read the Lutheran letters and the Corsair writings, which he did at the end of his life, and there's a scene in the Pasolini movie of his last interview, he's talking about some ideas that are like, he cautions us about where society is heading. And he's very prescient, and he's very ahead of everyone in saying, he prefigures the internet before there's even an internet. He prefigures the effect of the internet socially. And I think in that interview in Pasolini, what he's talking about is very relevant today. So some of his ideas that he's very articulate about and very connected to personally, stay with me and I think about. So I'd say he had a strong political effect on me, a strong way of looking at the world. He was an amazing man. Clearly, he had some defects, but he was a thinker that, he didn't get corrupted. He didn't get corrupted and get, he was many things, and he never always spoke for a particular faction. He was like he was a communist, but he had trouble with the communist parties. He was a gay, but he wasn't. He was gay, but wasn't a gay's advocate. He fought with his literary circles. He fought with political groups. He fell out of favor terrifically when he during the student riots. He famously sided with the policemen, at least in sentiment. He was a crazily wild, fresh, connected thinker. And when I read his thoughts, I get inspired.
Thank you very much.